Welcome to Value Vest Daily, where we analyze best value and momentum investment opportunities. All right, let's jump right in and see what the market was up to this past week. So, this is our weekly update. You know the drill. We'll look back at what just happened and then get you prepped for what's coming up next. And of course, gotta get the usual disclaimer out of the way. This is all just for informational purposes. It is absolutely not financial advice. So, what's the big picture this week? Well, on the surface, everything looks pretty rosy. The bull market seems to be charging right along, stocks are hitting new milestones. But if you start to peek under the hood a little bit, you can see some cracks starting to form in the foundation. We're getting some really mixed signals from big tech earnings and from the Federal Reserve. Okay, let's dive into last week's action first. And if I had to pick one word to describe it, it would be resilience. The market definitely pushed higher, but man, it felt like it was fighting an uphill battle the whole time. And you know what? Despite all that turbulence, the market actually finished in the green. All three major indices closed out the week with gains. But the real star of the show is the tech-heavy Nasdaq, which jumped a solid 2.2%. That tells you that even with some major players taking a hit, the overall momentum in tech is still just incredibly strong. So what was causing this massive tug-of-war in the market? Well, in one corner, you had this huge wave of optimism around company earnings. Investors were clearly betting big on great results. But in the other corner, you had the Federal Reserve basically pouring a bucket of cold water on any hopes for a rate cut anytime soon. And in the background, you've got this constant noise from trade tensions and spiky oil prices. It was the perfect recipe for a pretty wild week. But here's the thing. Those big market averages, they don't really tell the full story. Not even close. To really get what happened last week, you gotta look at the individual stocks, because we saw a huge split right down the middle of big tech. I mean, it was a classic tale of heroes and villains. The hero of the week? No question, it was Amazon. The stock just went on an absolute tear, surging to a new record high after putting up some monster earnings. It was basically single-handedly propping up the S&P 500. But then you add Meta and Microsoft. Oof. Both of them stumbled hard after their updates, and they were a major drag on the Nasdaq. And hey, if you thought stocks were a wild ride, hold on to your hats, because crypto was on a completely different planet. It was an absolute roller coaster. Bitcoin went screaming up to a new all-time high of $126,000, and then, bam, a massive $400 billion wipeout just rocked the entire market. And then somehow, after all that madness, it found its footing and actually clawed its way back to finish the week with a small gain. You can't make this stuff up. So after a week like that, you have to ask, right? What's the vibe in the market? Are people feeling brave, or are they getting pretty scared? Let's look at a couple of key indicators to find out. First, let's check in on the VIX, which is basically the stock market's heart rate monitor. It tells us how much fear is out there. It closed at 1744. Now, the magic number here is really 15. Anything above that, and you know there's some real anxiety brewing. So think about that for a second. Stock prices went up, but the fear level went up right along with them. Kind of strange, right? And if you think the VIX is a little jumpy, just look at the crypto world. The Crypto Fear and Greed Index is sitting way down at 33. That's not just caution, that is deep in fear territory. And frankly, after that roller coaster we just talked about, can you really blame anyone? Okay, so that was last week. Let's pivot and look ahead. Because this upcoming week, oh my man, it is absolutely packed with events that could either pour gasoline on this rally or stop it dead in its tracks. So if we look at the economic calendar, there's stuff happening all week. We've got manufacturing data, jobless claims, but honestly, it's all about Friday. Friday is the main event. That's when we get the big one, the non-farm payrolls report. This is the monthly jobs number that everyone, and I mean everyone, waits for. It's a huge clue about the health of the economy, and you can bet the Fed is watching it like a hawk. But it's not just economic data we're watching. Nope, earnings season is still in full swing. We've got key reports from healthcare companies like CVS and Vertex, but I think the real action is going to be later in the week with tech. We're getting numbers from Uber, and the one a lot of people are watching very closely, Palantir. That report is going to give us a really fresh look at the whole AI growth story. All right, so let's put all the pieces together. With all this data, all these earnings reports on the horizon, where do we think this market is headed? Is the rally going to keep going, or are we finally about to see it crack? It's the big question on everyone's mind, right? After weighing all the evidence, where are we placing our bets for the week ahead? Bull or bear? Okay, here's our take. We are leaning mildly bullish. Cautiously optimistic, you could say. We see a realistic path for the S&P 500 to push up and test that 6,900 level. But, and this is a really big but, it all hinges on two things. We need to see more strong earnings, and we absolutely need a solid jobs report, something over 100,000. If that jobs number disappoints, look out. The VIX could shoot right up towards 20. As for crypto, it's all about one number, 110,000 for Bitcoin. If it can hold that line, a rebound is definitely in the cards. So here's the bottom line. This market has been tough as nails. It's been incredibly resilient. But this coming week is a huge test. It's the final exam. We're about to find out if those little cracks we're seeing are going to widen. The name of the game right now is simple. Stay informed and be prepared for anything. And that's our look at the week ahead. If you found this breakdown helpful, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, give us a like, maybe share it with a friend. It really does help us keep bringing you these weekly updates so you can spot those opportunities before you put your money to work. Oh, and hey, one more thing before you go. We actually read all the comments. So if there's a specific stock, a ticker symbol you want us to do a deep dive on, just drop it down below. We'd love to hear from you. All right, that's it for us. We'll see you next week.